The first notice looked harmless if you read it the way they wanted you to read it. A single page, official letterhead, a neat block of text that sounded almost polite. It said there had been a violation of guest policy. It said the unit was under review. It said the resident needed to respond by a certain deadline or face enforcement action, up to and including eviction. Gloria Harris read it at her small kitchen table with a cup of tea that had already gone cold. She was a black senior in public housing, the kind of building that always smelled faintly of bleach and fried food, no matter how often they mopped. Her unit was modest but clean, and she kept it that way because order was one thing she could still control. The calendar on her wall had big handwritten reminders. Her pill organizer sat by the sink. A radio played low most mornings, the same station, the same familiar voices. Gloria's hands were steady when she held the letter. Her eyes were the ones that changed. She read the line about an unauthorized guest, then looked down the hallway toward her living room as if she might see the accusation standing there. No one was there. Gloria lived alone. Her husband had been gone for years. Her children were grown and scattered. Her closest routine visitors were a home health aide who came twice a week and a neighbor who sometimes checked on her when the elevator was out again. The idea that she was secretly housing someone felt absurd, and yet the paper did not care about absurd. Paper only cared that it existed. Gloria turned the letter over, expecting something else. A warning, a photo, a date, a report. Anything that sounded like evidence. Nothing. Just a signature line from the property management office and a phone number that would circle her through a voicemail maze. She dialed anyway. The first person who answered spoke in a tone that sounded pre-trained. Yes, the notice was valid. Yes, there had been a complaint. No, they could not disclose who complained. Yes, Gloria needed to comply with guest policy. Gloria asked what guest. The person said they could not discuss details and transferred her to a supervisor. The supervisor never picked up. The next day, a second notice arrived. This one was sharper. It referenced repeat incidents. It referenced ongoing disruption. It referenced law enforcement involvement. Gloria's stomach tightened at that last phrase. Law enforcement involvement meant someone was building a file. She sat in her living room and tried to replay her last month like it was security footage. Who had been in her apartment? When? For how long? What they did? What they carried? Her home health aide came, checked her vitals, helped with laundry, left. Her daughter had visited for one afternoon and stayed long enough to make soup and fix a loose cabinet hinge. A church friend dropped off groceries and did not even come inside, just handed bags at the door. None of that felt like a guest, but Gloria had lived long enough to know that definitions could be weaponized. The third notice came as a notice to cure or quit. That was the moment the language stopped pretending. It said Gloria needed to remove an unauthorized occupant. It said failure to comply would result in termination of tenancy. It listed a date for an administrative hearing. It included a line about safety and the rights of other residents. Safety. That word again. In public housing, safety could mean anything. It could mean a real danger, or it could mean fear, or it could mean someone did not like the sight of you surviving. Gloria folded the notice carefully and put it in a folder she had once used for medical bills. Now it held something else. Her housing, her stability, her last place that was hers. That evening, her neighbor, Mrs. Ortega, knocked softly and stepped inside with permission. Mrs. Ortega was older, too, white hair always neat, eyes sharp. She had lived in the building long enough to know what management did when it wanted someone gone. Mrs. Ortega looked at the papers, then looked at Gloria. She asked one question. Did the police ever come here? Gloria hesitated. Police had come, yes. Not because Gloria called them, because someone else did. The first time was late afternoon, when Gloria was watching a game show and chopping onions for dinner. There was a knock, firm and official. She opened the door and saw two officers in the hallway, both white, both scanning past her shoulder as if looking for someone behind her. They said there had been a call about a disturbance in her unit. Gloria's face had gone hot then, the same way it was going hot now. She told them she was alone. She invited them to look if they needed to. She hated the words leaving her mouth, hated how quickly a person learned to offer up their own privacy to prove innocence. The officers glanced inside, saw nothing, and left. The second time was after dusk, and it was worse. They knocked harder. One officer told her they had received repeated calls about yelling and a male occupant refusing to leave. Gloria almost laughed, except nothing about it was funny. She told them she had been asleep. She had no male occupant. She asked who was calling. The officer said they could not tell her that. Again, they looked inside, found nothing, left. Gloria had tried to tell herself it was random. Mrs. Ortega did not believe in random. She told Gloria the building had a pattern. Certain tenants got called in on. Certain tenants got reviewed. Certain units got notices. It always started with complaints, then police visits, then paperwork, then hearings, then the quiet move-out where the unit was suddenly empty and management pretended it was voluntary. Gloria felt her throat tighten. She asked why. Mrs. Ortega shrugged in a way that meant she had seen too much to be shocked anymore. She said some people complained until they got what they wanted. Some managers listened because it made their jobs easier. Some wanted quiet buildings for future redevelopment plans. Some wanted tenants they considered low risk. Gloria heard the phrase low risk and felt anger move in her chest. She had paid her rent on time. She had kept her unit clean. She had survived a lifetime of work and pain and still had the discipline to put her trash out properly. If she was a risk, then the word had lost meaning. Mrs. Ortega told Gloria to request records. Gloria asked what records. Mrs. Ortega said police logs, calls for service, dispatch notes. If there were truly law enforcement involvement, it would be documented. Gloria asked how to get them. Mrs. Ortega said to file a public records request with the city for 911 call logs related to her address and unit, and to request incident reports. Gloria looked at her neighbor like she had just handed her a flashlight. Gloria did not use computers much beyond reading messages, but she had a niece who did. A woman named Keisha, who worked as a paralegal and had the kind of mind that liked paperwork the way some people liked puzzles. Gloria called Keisha that night. Keisha listened quietly, then asked Gloria to read the notices out loud, line by line. When Gloria reached the part about repeat incidents and law enforcement involvement, Keisha's tone changed. Keisha said they were building a narrative. Keisha said the fastest way to break a narrative was to force it to show its receipts. Keisha came over the next morning with a laptop, a legal pad, and a calm anger that felt like armor. She sat at Gloria's table and asked for dates. When did the first notice arrive? When did the police come? When did the second notice arrive? Who did Gloria speak with? What did they say? Keisha wrote it all down in a timeline. Then she pulled up the city's public records portal. She filed a request for 911 calls for service to Gloria's building, and specifically to Gloria's unit over the past months. She requested audio logs if available, but at minimum, the call types, times, and dispatch notes. She filed another request for incident reports for the police visits to Gloria's unit. She also filed a request to the Housing Authority for all internal management notes, complaint logs, and guest policy enforcement records relating to Gloria. At the end, Keisha printed the confirmations and stapled them neatly. Gloria watched and felt something small shift. This time, they were not reacting. They were hunting the truth. The day of the administrative hearing arrived quickly, as if the system had been waiting for it. Gloria and Keisha entered a small conference room in the housing office where the air smelled like stale coffee. A hearing officer sat at the end of a table, expression neutral. On one side sat the property manager and a city housing representative, both white, both with folders thick enough to look impressive. Gloria sat with her own thin folder and felt the imbalance immediately. The property manager summarized the allegations. Unauthorized guest. Repeat disturbances. Multiple resident complaints. Police involvement. Safety risk. Gloria listened and felt like she was hearing someone describe a stranger. Keisha asked for evidence. The manager presented complaint forms with dates and checkboxes. The forms did not include names. They did not include witness statements. They did not include photographs. They did not include anything concrete beyond noise and unauthorized guest. Keisha asked if any staff member had personally observed an unauthorized occupant in Gloria's unit. The manager said staff had seen an unknown male entering and leaving. Keisha asked for the date and time. The manager hesitated, then gave a range. Keisha asked if the building had security cameras. The manager said cameras covered common areas, but footage was not always retained. Keisha asked whether the footage was preserved after the notices were issued. The manager said it might have been overwritten. Keisha nodded as if she expected that. Keisha then asked for the police reports that the city claimed supported repeat incidents. The housing representative said the police had responded to calls which demonstrated ongoing issues. Keisha asked whether the police reports indicated any arrest, citation, or discovery of an unauthorized guest. The representative said the existence of calls mattered. Keisha leaned back slightly. Gloria watched her niece's face and saw it harden into something precise. Keisha said something saparpol. Calls are not proof. Calls are just calls. The hearing officer asked Keisha what she wanted. Keisha requested that the eviction process be paused pending the public records request results, because the city itself was relying on police involvement as a basis, and that basis needed verification. The housing representative argued that would delay enforcement. Keisha argued that eviction was irreversible harm. The hearing officer agreed to a brief continuance, a small win. But when Gloria walked out, she still felt the edge of fear. Continuance meant time. Time could help. Time could also be used against her. 2 days later, Keisha received the first records response. It was not the full set, but it was enough to change the temperature in the room. The 911 call log entries for Gloria's unit showed multiple calls. But the call types were not what the city had described. They were vague. Disturbance, suspicious person, domestic, welfare check. The notes included phrases like caller reports, male present, caller states resident yelling, caller insists immediate response. And then there was the most important part, the disposition, unable to locate issue. Resident cooperative, no disturbance heard, no male located, no enforcement action. Over and over, the system wrote down the same truth. Police arrived, found nothing, left. Keisha stared at the logs and felt anger settle into focus. Gloria read the lines slowly, absorbing them like medicine. Then Keisha noticed something else. The caller line. It was redacted in some entries, but not all. In a few, the caller type was labeled. Anon via housing office. Caller management shoe. Caller. Staff. Keisha's eyes lifted. The building itself was making the calls. Gloria felt a shock that was almost relief because it meant she was not crazy. It also meant something darker. If management was calling, then management was manufacturing the paper trail it later used to evict her. Keisha requested the full 911 audio logs and dispatch recordings. She filed an urgent follow-up. She also requested the city's call history for other units in the building. Because now the story was not just about Gloria, it was about pattern. And patterns, once you prove them, become hard to deny. When the next batch arrived, Keisha found exactly what she feared. Other black seniors in the same building had similar call patterns: welfare checks, disturbances, suspicious persons, guest allegations, police responses with no issue found. The calls clustered around a handful of units. The same floors, the same wing, the same manager's coverage. Keisha began marking the logs with a highlighter, building a map of harassment disguised as safety. Gloria sat at the table watching her niece's pen move and felt a cold realization. They had been doing this for a long time, not just to her. They had turned the police into a routine tool, like a maintenance request, like a form letter. The next hearing was scheduled for the following week. Keisha spent the days preparing like it was court. She organized the 911 logs by date and unit. She pulled the entries that matched Gloria's notices. She created a simple timeline: notice, call, notice, call, notice, call. She also gathered statements from neighbors willing to sign that Gloria lived alone and that no unauthorized occupant resided with her. Mrs. Ortega signed first. Another neighbor signed too, a man who had once been evicted from a different building and recognized the tactic. Keisha requested that the housing office preserve any security footage from the hallways and lobby. She knew they would claim it was overwritten, but putting them on notice mattered. Gloria watched her niece and felt something she had not felt in weeks. Not hope, exactly. Resolve. The morning of the hearing, Gloria dressed carefully, not because she wanted to impress anyone, but because she refused to look like someone easy to erase. She wore a simple blouse and a cardigan. She put on earrings her husband had bought her years ago. She held her folder like it was a shield. In the hearing room, the property manager looked confident again, like someone who expected the system to do what it usually did. The housing representative began by repeating the accusations. Unauthorized guest. Ongoing disruption, police involvement, safety. Keisha waited until they finished. Then she placed the 911 logs on the table. The hearing officer looked down and leaned forward slightly, interested despite himself. Keisha explained calmly and clearly, that the city was using police involvement as a justification for eviction, but the police records showed repeated unfounded calls where officers found no disturbance, no guest, no arrest, no citation. She pointed out that in multiple entries, the calls were initiated by management or routed through the housing office. She then showed a small selection of call patterns from other units, demonstrating that the same guest tactic and 911 calls were used repeatedly against black seniors in the same building. The room changed. The property manager's face tightened. The housing representative tried to argue that calls reflected resident concerns. Keisha pointed out that management itself had called. The hearing officer asked the manager to explain why management was calling police on Gloria if staff hadn't verified a disturbance. The manager said it was standard procedure when complaints came in. Keisha asked why the complaints were treated as fact when the police consistently found nothing. The manager didn't answer cleanly. Keisha asked why Gloria was being targeted for eviction when there was no documented violation beyond unverified complaints. She asked if the same guest policy enforcement was applied to all tenants equally. She asked for guest notices issued to white tenants in the same period. The manager said that information was not readily available. Keisha said she was prepared to request it formally. The hearing officer looked at the city representative and asked a question that landed. If we proceed with eviction and later learn the record was manufactured, what is the city's exposure? The representative shifted uncomfortably, because now the risk had moved. It was no longer Gloria who was in danger. It was the city. The hearing officer granted a stay of eviction proceedings pending an internal investigation and ordered management to cease further enforcement actions related to the alleged guest, unless verified by direct observation or video evidence. Gloria heard the words, but did not trust them yet. She had lived long enough to know that victories could be paper too. But Keisha did not stop there. Keisha asked the hearing officer to refer the matter to the city's inspector general or oversight body, because the pattern in 911 logs suggested misuse of police services and discriminatory targeting. The hearing officer did not commit in the moment, but he did not dismiss it either. The property manager left the room quickly afterward, not looking at Gloria. Outside, in the hallway, Gloria's knees trembled. Keisha put a hand on her shoulder. Gloria asked if it was over. Keisha said no. Keisha said that when a system gets caught, it either changes or it gets quieter. They needed to make sure it changed. In the days that followed, Gloria's building felt different. Staff smiled less. Maintenance requests got slower. Neighbors were more careful with their eyes. Some acted like Gloria had done something wrong by defending herself. But something else happened too. Residents started talking. A black senior on the 5th floor told Gloria she had gotten guest notices too. Another said police had come to her door 3 times for welfare checks she never requested. A man said he had been told he had too many visitors when his grandson visited after school. The pattern grew legs. Keisha helped residents file their own public records requests. She showed them how to track call logs. She told them to write down dates. She told them to document everything. Gloria became, without intending to, the center of a quiet rebellion built out of paperwork. Then, the city responded. A letter arrived stating that Gloria's eviction was withdrawn. It said the city had reviewed the record and determined there was insufficient evidence of a lease violation. It stated that management staff would be retrained on appropriate use of law enforcement and guest policy enforcement procedures. Retrained. That word sounded small. Gloria wanted accountability, not a training session, but the withdrawal mattered. It put her housing back on solid ground. Keisha pushed further. She contacted a local legal aid office and a civil rights group that monitored housing discrimination. She provided the 911 log pattern. She provided the documentation that management had called police repeatedly. The city did not want headlines. It did not want lawsuits. It did not want a pattern labeled officially. Quietly, management changed. The property manager was reassigned. A new compliance officer held a meeting with residents and explained guest policy in a way that was suddenly more balanced and less threatening. The housing office introduced a requirement that complaints be documented with specific details and that staff verify issues before contacting police unless there was a clear emergency. Gloria listened from the back of the room and felt something like vindication, but not satisfaction, because she understood what had saved her. Not kindness, not fairness arriving on its own. Records, a pattern exposed by 911 logs and the city's own paperwork. The next time Gloria heard police sirens in the distance, she did not flinch the way she had before, but she did feel the memory of that hallway knock. She knew now how close she had come to losing everything over a word as vague as guest. And she knew something else too. If they had done this once, they would do it again, unless someone kept watching the paper. Gloria went home after the meeting, sat at her kitchen table, and slid her folder into a drawer. Then she took it out again. She added the city's withdrawal letter. She added the hearing stay. She added the call logs. She labeled the folder clearly, because she had learned the rule of her building. If you want to survive the system, you do not just live quietly. You keep receipts.